The story is told, though who can say if it be true, of a clan of medieval warriors awoken in modern-day Manhattan, of the animated series that told their story.
It is an age of darkness. Superstition and the sword rule. It is an age of fear. It is the age of gargoyles.
Welcome to Voices from the Eyrie, a Gargoyles podcast.
This is Nightwatch, reporting from New York.
Travis Marshall. Tonight, more on the news that has rocked Manhattan, if not the world.
And here we are with news and first impressions. There isn't that much news to report. As of today, and this recording, which is June 18th, unfortunately, Midtown Comics has posted that the physical release of Demona issue 1, the digital's been out for over a week now, but the physical release has been pushed back as of this recording to July 2nd. Hopefully by the time this comes out, it won't be even later than that. This is not due to Dynamite or even Disney. This is mostly due to Diamond Comics distribution. We don't know what's going on there exactly. We have no idea. We cannot editorialize or even really opine. Suffices to say, I think we hope this resolves itself as soon as possible.
Agreed.
And on that note...
But at least we get the digital.
Yes. And people seem to be loving it. So on that note, we're going to discuss first impressions of Demona issue 1. We're going to eventually do a deep dive, and we're going to need to because there's a lot in this issue.
So much. All right, everybody get out your scorecards.
If you want, go to GargWiki, click on any member of the royal family, Macbeth, Canmore, etc. There's a family tree there for you to use as a cheat sheet.
By the way, that family tree is fucking awesome.
That was Beto Phoenician. He's the one who put that together. It is awesome.
Very.
Jen, do you have any first impressions on Demona number 1?
Well, I'm loving that we've got Frank doing the art here. Like, I feel like Demona is like just a bad omen. Like, if she rolls into town, shit's gonna go south.
I'm going to defend her this time. This time, for the first time ever, she did nothing wrong in this story. I'm not saying she... It's
like the old Incredible Hulk TV show. Like, at the end of it, like, she's just, like, standing on the highway hitchhiking out of town. Like...
There's some truth to that, yeah. It isn't about all the murders in Cow Cove. It's, but this is, goes back to The Fugitive, and shows like that, which the Hulk was very inspired by The Fugitive. So, yeah, I get that. I see that. And
there's a lot of good lines.
Very deep in Frankenstein's head.
Yeah.
Working. I don't know.
I like it.
No, it's been really cool, and I do agree with you. Although, like I said, I'm not saying she did everything right in this issue. Once again, she's not performing any wind ceremonies in the complex at this point. This is the second time we've seen her refuse to perform one, maybe even 3 if you count Wyvern. But no, this is sad and tragic, and it was awesome. A real historical epic. I mean, obviously, the very obvious first impression, Angelica is adorable. I say protect her at all costs, but knowing the fact that she's teamed up now with Demona, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to turn out in the long run. So we'll find out.
I love all these new gargoyle designs. I really like Angelica's wings. Very nice. Very cool.
Yeah, that's Frank. I wrote not on Angelica, but on the 2 gargoyles who have speaking parts, who have no names, but in the script they're, for identification purposes, go by Rook and Lioness. I wrote just a vague little descriptions of what each of them look like, but Frank did the designs, of course. Mm-hmm. Angelica was all Frank. Like he came up with a design before I wrote anything down.
Well, Lioness makes me think that there's like a mix of the London and Scottish clans here.
English and Scottish, yeah, not
English,
London
yeah.
specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
English
was
and
the
Scottish.
idea that when you're on the border between the two countries, which is where this is, that the further north you get, the more traditionally Scottish you get, the further south, the more English you get, and this being right in the middle, you have some of each.
Here's my first impression. I have been waiting for this for 29 years. 2 moments when we found out that he destroyed her clan, and after he stabbed Macbeth in the back like a coward. I've been waiting 29 years, almost 30 years now in October, to see Canmore die.
Yeah, he made it to quite a few more years. So
had a lot of kids.
But
yeah, a lot of kids.
So many kids. They almost needed a bigger dinner table. Yeah, but that moment, that final confrontation between Canmore and Demona was just so beautiful.
Even before you turn the page and get the big splash page, just that, what, are you expecting some kind of epic final battle between us?
I love the whole never by your hand. That was awesome. But yeah, you get to that big splash page where it's like, who's dreaming now?
And she's got her and her thumb's in his mouth.
Oh yeah. Oh, like, had we not seen his corpse afterwards, I would think that she was just going to pop his head like a grape.
According to legend, he was actually stabbed through the eye, but we don't see that there. Maybe Disney might not have liked that idea.
Morticians can do great things for kings.
It's a death mask.
Nice.
Yeah, but the thing with the thumb in the mouth thing, that was all Frank. I mean,
oh my gosh!
I described the splash, but that was his. Again, I can't get Frank enough.
Love that touch.
How great this looks.
Love her armor. There's like a silhouette shot. Hang on, let's see if I can find where it was. There was a silhouette shot of Demona like flying through the sky, where like the way her wings are, it almost looks like a double-sided battle axe kind of thing, and I freaking love that look. I love it. So good.
I mean, I think while you're looking for that, I think Dynamite has been blessed with really good artists for this comic, but Frank's art is on a whole other level. If it were up to me, he'd be drawing every Gargoyles comic. I know that's not going to happen, but I will just toss it out. If it's up to me, Robbie colors every Gargoyles comic moving forward, because he's just terrific too.
Yeah, and he's working hard. It's great because and this is terrific. But what DC issue 2, Robbie worked really hard on issue 2. It's great to have. We've had some good colors on our books prior to this, but Robbie knows this stuff up, down, and sideways, and he really cares. And so
he cares. Yeah, it's in his blood.
Yeah, it's a whole other level for me having Robbie color this stuff. I think I've been very blessed on all the Dynamite Gargoyles titles with the artists we have. Oh, yeah. George and Pasquale and Drew and have all been terrific, and we've had some pretty kick-ass covers from all sorts of people. Amanda comes to mind immediately, and I love Frank's stuff on it. But it's also fun to see other people's interpretations too. But from a coloring standpoint, it's tough to top Robbie. That's for sure.
A page that sticks out. It was where the sun's going down, and like each frame is a little bit more sunset until the sun is gone. And it was just like such a perfect gradient through the whole thing. Like, you see in the sun, you're slowly going down, it's getting redder in the background. It's so good. Really love
Oh, I'm
that.
looking at it, and I think I found the page you were
Yeah,
talking
that's
about.
it. That's the one. For those of you just listening, too bad.
Buy the comic if you want to see it. Buy the comic if you want to see it. It's available digitally. You don't have to wait for Diamond. Although we want you to buy the physical one too.
Yeah.
Support your local comic shop. I suppose I have one more first impression, just one more. I love the first 2 pages, the 2 very biased accounts of history.
I love that whole the usurper summoned a demon straight from hell to do his bidding. That image of like where it looks like she's just coming up out of the cauldron kind of thing. Beautiful.
And when we get to Hunter's Moon, the Canwar clan calling her a demon, I thought that was just an insult. It's goddamn literal now.
Well, they think it is.
Yeah,
Well, they think it is.
They think, yeah. Crazy
But
sauce.
no, that was great. So before we wrap up this first impressions section, I cannot wait for the deep dive. We're going to spend a long time on this one when we get there. But Greg, do you have any first impressions or anything any immediate thoughts you want to share about this issue that we didn't touch upon?
Even on the first page, I had that as a 6-panel grid, and Frank took what would have been panels 3 and 4 and made it 1 panel, but on half of it, it's from the best point of view, so they look like the Weird Sisters look like human crones, and on the left side, it's Damona's point of view, and they look like gargoyle crones, and that didn't even occur to me. And I just this is really cool. So I wanted to shout that out because it's such a neat idea. And then I actually was really happy with how page 3 turned out, as dumb as that sounds. But but I wanted, the year of each of these adventures and these 5 stories is so important. And I really wanted to stop. I didn't just want to do a caption. Oh, now it's 1093, that kind of thing. I really wanted to go boom, there. And I wasn't sure how effective it would be, and I actually was really pleased. It's so simple, but I just, doing the dates this way throughout the 5 issues, I think is working really well. I mean, I've seen issue 2 by now, and issue 3 is well underway, and I'm currently writing the script to issue 4. And so I think it was a weird idea because, the budget for this book is 22 pages. But I said to Nate, hey, could I do this? I won't charge you the scripting and you won't have any artists, and he's like, yeah, do it. So it's 1 less ad and 1 less page of ad in the book, which is fine. But, it doesn't cost Dynamite anything, but it just felt like it was really effective. And again, it seems dumb to be excited about that. I know, because, you've got all this gorgeous Frank art, which is way better than this. But at the same time, I was really happy with how this page turned out.
Nice. Oh, and another thing that the gargoyle of the sword comment, get a little bit of time dancers wedged in there a little bit.
I'm wondering if we're going to see maybe a little more of Time Dancer. All I know is that in Zero, Katana was behaving really strangely. So I think we're going to see her in this miniseries at some point, because Zero tells me one way or another this stuff is ending up in Japan. So we'll see where this story ultimately ends.
It was a nice wink.
I cannot wait. And Greg, that Weird Sister panel you mentioned, that's on their character page now, entry on Garg Wiki. It's on the Weird Sisters page on Garg Wiki to get the point across that the points of view is better than multiple screenshots could do. So it's there. Love that. And as for that page 3, I always heard this, whenever I looked at it, I would hear thunder crackling in my head whenever I saw that. So you got the point across.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right.
And I was super happy with how the issue turned out. And again, most of the credit to that to Frank, without a doubt, and Robbie and everybody. But Jeff, and I was happy with my work too. But overall, I just thought it packed a lot of punch.
All right. And hey, we've seen kings die in Gargoyles before. This is the first time we've ever seen a saint die in Gargoyles before, as far as I know. Saint Margaret. But we'll talk about that when we do the deep dive. And so, no, these were great first impressions. Can't wait to do that. And to our listeners, please stick around and join us for our discussion of The Green with Elisa Gabrielli.
This has been Night Watch. Sleep well.
Welcome back, Gargoyles fans, to another episode of Voices from the Eyrie, a Gargoyles podcast. I am the co-host, Greg Bashansky, and joining me as usual is my partner in crime, my co-host, Jennifer L. Anderson.
Hello, everyone.
How are you today, Jen?
Hanging in there. Halfway through the week. It's good.
I think most of us are hanging in there right now, so yeah. And rejoining us as usual is the creator of Gargoyles, the supervising producer of the first 2 seasons, Mr. Greg Wiseman.
Hi.
And how are you today, Greg?
I'm good. Ish.
Yeah, good-ish.
A lot of ish.
Yeah.
A lot of ish.
And you've just heard her joining us for the first time. We're very happy to have her on board. The voice of Obsidiana in this episode, Elisa Gabrielli.
Hi, very happy to be here. It's nice to have a little respite in Los Angeles from these crazy times. I think the episode is very timely.
I think so too. And again, I was saying this before. Yeah, I was saying this before the show. I mean, I lived in LA for 2 years. I went to college in LA. I tried to get a job in LA. Didn't quite work out. But my heart goes out to everyone in LA who is currently going through what we're going through. Again, the rancid taco that is giving us all indigestion. I don't care.
No.
Yep, I'm not disagreeing.
No.
All right, so
Stay strong, California. Stay strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, stay strong and peacefully protest. Sorry, I'm gonna.
All right, but before we begin, I want to shout out to Matt, who's a longtime Gargoyles fan, a major Gargwiki contributor. He's also one of our fandom's biologists, and I'm shouting out to him because the Mayan clan is his favorite clan, outside the Manhattan clan.
Yeah.
He loves this episode, and this is one of his favorites. And I know he had spent many years championing it, so I'm happy to give him a shout out.
Hey,
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Greg, do you still have the egg he gave you?
I still have it, yes.
Excellent. I'm sure he'll be happy to hear this. I know he's a loyal listener. So we'd like to get to know our guests a little bit. Elisa, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you start this career as a thespian?
gosh, that went way back to like the first time I was in. So I started, I guess, my interest in the arts and being an actress, and when I was really young. My mom was a singer as well as she was like Miss Washington, D.C. Like, actually, I'm wearing her little cherry blossom princess bracelet from like 52 or something. Like, it was like a, but we had a very musical, arty kind of family. So I was always in high school. I was in all the musicals and all that. But I was also, it's really funny that I ended up with Obsidiana as a character because I also wanted to be a doctor. And I really loved medicine and biology. And it was very equal parts, like to the point where I went to college. I wasn't sure whether I was going to go pre-med or continue on towards acting. But ended up acting and still ended up doing a lot of medical activism later on after college and stuff, which was interesting. So it's kind of like my cue to everyone is just say yes to whatever is within you, because there's always an opportunity. And when I came to New York and was bartending in New York, and I met Bridget Bacco, who plays Angela on Gargoyles. And we were roommates in New York, and I was with Mirror Repertory Company, which was F. Murray Abraham and Geraldine Page's company. And I was one of the youngest members of that company, and started doing like little auditions and stuff. And then Bridget went out to California first, and then I went out and came back because I found it really confusing. And then I went back and started, auditioning, and sort of the first voice work that I was aware of was when I was early on in LA. Someone told me about this producer named John Davidson, and he was doing a film at Paramount. And did I want to meet him? They had called him because I had worked with them in New York. And so I was really excited. And I came to Paramount, and he was like, hey, so I understand from Richard, who introduced us, that you do voice work. And I done like one commercial for like a Carolina Rice commercial or something for voice. And I was like, yeah. And he said, would you like to do voice work on the movie? And I was, voice work on a movie?
LA Mad Dogs?
No, it was before that even. It was before LA Mad Dogs. It was just me in post. I think might have been Barbara Harris's group or something, but he just said, I'm going to put you on my movie to do voice. And I was like, equally excited and disappointed because I thought I was going to like be in a film, but it was already in the post-production part. So I showed up at Paramount, and it was the director, Irvin Winkler, and his Rob Cohen, I think it was his producer. And there were like 4 actors there. And I had never been on a soundstage, never been anything. And they were doing specifics. Like they'd already done all the group. They were doing specifics. And thank God someone went first. And I saw that it was like beep, beep, beep. And then you go. And then they were like, who wants to revoice this woman who's a congresswoman or something? We have to. And I was like, I think I can. So I went up and I found out I was really good with sync because I did well. And they kept me afterwards with one of the other actors, but we had lunch. So I was walking with the sound guy, and he was like, so you obviously do a fair amount of this. And I was like, oh yeah, I do a lot of ARD. And he went, it's ADR. He totally busted me, but then he took me under his wing, and then I met the Mad Dogs because of him, and met certain groups, and this whole other world opened up of being able to be so many people and play in such a wide arena, not just locked in with what you look like, or if someone lets you into an audition, and I'm Russian, Hungarian, Argentinian. I speak Spanish, I speak Italian, and then I had my medical background. And as it turns out, all of that kind of schizophrenic curriculum vitae stood me in really good stead because I was able to kind of get into places that I might not have normally been accepted or useful, because I could cover some bases and stuff. So, and it started like a really long love affair with voice work, and then animation, and then I met Greg and Jamie, and the world opened up.
Coming into Gargoyles is a little bit different. As I recall, you filled in, before getting Obsidiana, you filled in for Rachel Ticotin for the character of Captain Maria Chavez before you were Obsidiana. And Greg, do you remember the process of casting her into both parts?
Lisa had read for Jamie and I earlier for Elisa, and was one of the, very finalists for that part. So we would have been already impressed with her. And I can't remember why, but there was one episode where Rachel wasn't available for reasons that, 30 years ago, I don't remember now why. So we brought Elisa in for that, and she did obviously a fantastic job at what I think was honestly a tougher gig, because, it's not just, she's not creating this character. She's got to sort of match, at least in spirit, what Rachel had already done with the character. And I, this is before the internet and before, the internet existed technically, but we didn't use it the way we use it now. Right. So, it was challenging, and she did a great job. So when we had this episode, this was, an opportunity to give her a character that she could sort of bring to life without having to deal with someone else's interpretation of it. And I think she did a terrific job. And also Maribina Jaimes was another who played Turquesa in this episode, was another one who was one of the, the finalists for Elisa Maza back when it was Elisa Chavez. So it was sort of like, hey, we had found these great performers during the audition process and hadn't quite been the person for that role, but we're like, let's use them for something else. And this was a good episode to do that with for both. And
now, how do you prepare them? Like she's stepping in, it's an established character. How does, in that timeline, how does she prepare to?
You're talking about doing Chavez or doing Chavez or doing
Chavez?
Yeah. So how do we prepare her to do Maria? The answer is I have no memory whatsoever.
I can tell you what I remember. I mean, I can tell you what I remember, what I would do if I would do it now, because I often revoice people, or like I voice match Helen Mirren and different people like that. I can voice match. So I think if I recall, because it was a long time ago, I think I actually listened to what she did, first of all. Then I studied her character. I'm sure I looked at the scripts so that I could be catching up with like who she was. But it's pretty clear who she is as a detective. And I kind of just tried to do her justice, not spin off on a different way of being. Like she has a particular kind of cadence and approach. And I've known her and run into her in life as well. And I know her work. So I think I just tried to stay in her lane for that episode, because that was my job, right? To kind of, bring my own ability and to what was happening in the episode and everything. But
to try to do that emulation.
Yeah, to just try to stay with the character that she created and I would be surprised if I didn't try to match her voice, because tends to be what I would do in a situation like that, to try to kind of make it as seamless as possible.
Speaking from, we're not trying to, in that case, flag to the audience. Hey, we're not waving a sign saying, by the way, new actor. We don't want that. That's the opposite of what we want. So the idea is to make it feel as seamless as possible, which again, I think is obviously, Elise and I have been friends now for a very long time, but I think she did an amazing job. But that to me was not that it wasn't a great acting job, but it was also a technical sort of thing that she had to do. And Jamie and I wanted to give her the opportunity to do something that, for lack of a better term, just felt more liberating. In other words, here's a new character. No one's done this character before.
Make her yours.
Make it yours. And that I think is something that I think you can sort of feel the sort of the difference in Obsidiana, where I really feel like this character comes to life for you. Probably the one for me that pops most of the four new gargoyles that we introduced. I think everyone is great. Jesse and Marbina and Hector are all fantastic in those roles. But the character that really pops for me, kind of in both the writing and in the performance, is Obsidiana. She's the one that I think sort of stands out from the four. I think visually, obviously, Zafiro has this incredibly unique look. So, but from a personality standpoint, I feel like it's Obsidiana who's the one who pops. And having said that, I like all four. I mean, I just did a comic with Hade and Turquesa for a few issues. And,
fun.
I like all four characters, but I really felt it again watching the episode last night that Obsidiana sort of steals the show for me there.
He's fantastic.
The writing was amazing, though, right? I mean, the writing was...
This is a really good story.
The story is amazing, but even the words that I was given, like she has the pulse of the forest, She feels like who she is and what her journey is and what her,
what's important to
what's important to her, what her reason for living at all, for existing. She has that pulse through her. So it was really lovely to do. It's fun to see again.
It was. I really enjoyed the character. And to comment a little bit about you stepping in for Rachel Ticotin, I remember 30-year-old memory. I remember this when I didn't realize that was a different actress until I got into the internet about a year or so after that
That's great.
episode aired. I mean, obviously I hear it now when I watch it, but back then it just felt fairly seamless.
Cool. That's very nice to hear.
All right, we're going to circle back to you throughout the course of the series. So, but let's talk about the episode itself, the Green, and we get to meet an entirely new clan of gargoyles. Which we just went into the Mayan clan, Hade, Turquesa, Zafiro, and Obsidiana, voiced by again Hector Elizondo, Marabina Jaime, and Jesse Corti, and of course Lisa Gabrielli here, and they are beautiful designs for them. I mean, I have seen some fans sometimes ask, and this is directed at you, Greg, why Zafiro has a snake tail when the rest of them don't. What's going on there? I mean, I know the answer, but for fans who don't.
Glad you know the answer. I'm not sure I do remember why. I knew we wanted Zafiro to be reminiscent of the feathered serpent and imply at least that he was some inspiration for that mythology. I think in hindsight, I wouldn't have wanted all four of them to look as reptilian as Zafiro looks, but I do think it would have been more interesting if all four had that snake tail, that sort of cobra-esque, standing serpent look. I think, and I'm not sure, if I don't remember, I don't know if anyone would, particularly because our directors on this were in Japan, in Tokyo, which I thank God for, because, I was watching Zafiro move in the episode. And it's hard enough to do the gargoyle walk cycle, because in essence they walk on, from our point of view, on their toes. They've got haunches, but that's something that that people are used to animating by this time in the series. We're up at episode in the 50s or something, we've been through 50 episodes. But I think there was some nervousness with Frank and me about, are they going to be able to achieve that tail? And so the idea of having all four of them with the tail was a little nerve-wracking, but thankfully it was animated in Japan, and those guys just nailed it. And so in hindsight,
even when you can't see the lower half of them, you can see that he's moving differently than Goliath when they're walking side by side. It's really
well done. And so in hindsight, I sort of regret that the other three also didn't have. I like their each of their heads is very unique and really summons up this sort of Mayan feel to me. I think again, in that sort of pre-internet research age, we were able to visually get something really interesting out of all four of those gargoyles. So I wouldn't have changed their upper bodies. But I think if, in this sort of, if you could do it over, I probably would have given all four of them and made that just completely the signature of the Mayan clan, would have been that lower body, that sort of cobra-esque lower body. But, I say that on the one hand, and on the other hand, I'm sort of like, look, I like the way it is, and I'm not George Lucas. I don't want to go back and redo all that stuff. It's all good, and I think they all look fantastic. But yeah, I mean, it really began with the idea of the feathered serpent, and then we're like, but we don't want one gargoyle, we want four. And the other thing that's sort of interesting to me is, because I know we had this idea, but I think we must have decided not to mention it just because it adds all this complication. But, in our minds, there's a talk in the episode about how poachers came in and destroyed all the gargoyles who were there, except for the four who were, during the day, were out patrolling the forest. But what we didn't say is that the eggs weren't found and the eggs weren't destroyed. So that in 98, that episode's set in 96, but in 98, the idea is that the clan will get some renewal. It's not down to just four gargoyles. It is now, and the reason that Hade and Turquesa are always staying at the pyramid is not because oh, we're worried that a poacher is going to come knock down the pyramid, where they're staying there because somewhere hidden within that pyramid are about 40 gargoyle eggs. And so, and I know we had that idea, but I was kind of surprised that when I rewatched the episode, it was sort of in my head like, oh, they've got to still guard the eggs. I'm like, oh, we must have decided not to complicate the episode with that aspect of it. And I can't remember why, because it doesn't feel that complicated to me.
Well,
But there must have been some decision.
To Avalon, like
In universe, I could see them choosing not to say it because they might not 100% trust Elisa Maza. I mean,
I guess I just it doesn't feel that way in the episode. I mean, Obsidiana even says that she likes Elisa.
yeah, even you.
It's a great line, actually.
Just tossing that idea out
So
there.
I just think that, out of universe, we just must have at some point made the decision to like, look, the eggs are there, but we don't have to talk about them. We've got so much going on in New York and in Guatemala. We don't need to also bring in this other, we've got Jackal, Hyena, and Vogel, and farmers and loggers and our 4 travelers and 4 gargoyles. It's like, it's enough. Stop.
Big episode.
Frank going, it's enough. And so I think that it at some point between Frank and Carrie and I, we must have just decided, they're there. We didn't say anything to contradict that, but we're just not going to mention them. And I don't really remember why, but my guess is that the sense was that we had enough going on in the episode. We didn't need one more thing.
Jen, what do you think of this new clan?
Room for like a return to the green, back to the green, standalone animated moment of time where, mull that over there.
What did I think of the episode?
Of this clan, really, but
Of this clan. I love this clan. Anytime we meet a new gargoyle bunch, I just want to pick apart the designs. I just want to I like how they all are kind of a piece of the mythology around where they live, kind of thing. And the Mayan clan was very cool. So yeah, well, and I even showed you the fan art I did.
I loved seeing that again.
Fan art.
We'll email it to you.
My Mayan clan fan art.
Put it on can you share screen?
I don't know if I can.
Maybe I can. 1 second.
But their designs are gorgeous, and the animation in this episode is gorgeous, which just makes it even better. The action sequences are great. There's only one little spot where they defeat Jackal in the end, where I was like, "Oh, where did everybody's model sheets go?" But other than that, it just was a gorgeous, gorgeous episode.
That fight in the museum and everything too, that was so cool.
Right?
Just even the way the sun amulet looks when they're throwing it rolls, and it's like, that is not easy to track,
There it is. I brought it up. We'll post it in our show notes also for those of you who aren't watching the video on Patreon.
2006.
Beautiful, bravo,
Great.
well done.
But can you remove that big black
Yeah, where's that black strip over it?
I think
I didn't realize you could. I didn't realize you could see that. So
it's probably the lineup of us at the top of the screen.
Oh yeah.
Is that better?
What's the thing?
1 second.
There you go.
Now it looks like it's just being a modesty patch somewhere. Oh, that's great. That'd make a great tattoo.
Don't give them any ideas, Elisa.
Okay.
Jennifer's never drawn anything that ended up tattooed on anyone. Never.
Never. Nope.
Backstory there. She drew Demona. That drawing is tattooed on my calf.
You don't want to know where it's tattooed.
Oh, everyone at Convergence saw it.
You know, like, so clearly, like, they made an impression on me.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic, but that, in essence, is kind of what I'm talking about. Is that again, hindsight being 2020. If I were to do it again, which I definitely am not, I think the idea of the snake tail is just really cool, and I wish we had done a little more with it. But I also think there was some fear that it was going to be tough enough animating one of those, and if we had 4 of them to do, we would just wind up unhappy with the animation. And I think because I don't think we didn't always know in advance which studio was getting what episode. And if we had known it was going to Japan, we might have gone for it, but we didn't necessarily know that, and so we didn't. And everything I'm saying is kind of vague, because the truth of the matter is that my memory is
a while ago.
Vague at best. It was 30 years ago, so, or 29, I guess, at this point. But
and we were all children. It's so funny because I didn't realize when I watched the show, and then I watched the credits, and I saw it was Marabina, and I had not met Marabina yet, but I work with Marabina a lot, and I know her, and she's a friend. So I was like, oh my gosh, Marabina.
But you must have been we recorded those episodes in group records. You must have been in the booth with her back then.
I don't remember, but
You must have been.
all of us are.
It's very rare that we didn't have the whole
29
group together.
years
there
ago.
weren't that many
And for new
interactions
characters,
with us, right?
we were pretty ruthless. If someone wasn't available for our group record and it was a new character, it was sort of like, well, then just cast someone else, because
You want to play together.
again, we might make exceptions when it's someone who is already in the cast.
Mhm.
But if it's a new character, we were like, well, that's our first choice. They can't make it. Okay, who was our second choice?
Right.
kind of thing.
They probably there
I mean,
wasn't
this-
that much stuff with her though. It was with Hector, I remember, and I just don't remember. I just don't remember her as being the friend that I met later, years later, and I started working with her, and I never put the two together. So I have to call her afterwards and go, Mara. So, I mean, yeah, I remember her. Forget that story. No. No.
What?
It's sort of cool that you met someone before you became friends, and
Yeah.
Hey, guess what? We did this thing together.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's not
Yeah.
a negative.
Yeah.
I made so many friends because of you, Greg Weissman. Honestly,
That's what I do.
Same.
I bring people together.
you do.
Yeah.
You're a bringer of people together. It's very and amazing people like Ed Asner. Like he became so dear in my life, and I met him because of you. It's like
I'll start crying.
It's
Let's,
true. He will.
We love Ed. We really do. We'll talk about.
I mean,
talk about
Greg is
Ed.
a dick, but no, it's just I like Greg very much. But everybody else that I've met because of him,
Yeah.
Greg is actually a dear friend. So
I bring people together not to be with me, but with
right,
each other.
just, to have options that are not.
All right, let's talk about the themes of conservation that this episode presents. I thought it was an important message, handled very elegantly. I mean, there was a lot of shows and movies at the time trying to put that message out there, some doing it better than others. I mean, I've often, and I don't really want to go here. I'm not trying to, but I do know that at the time there was a show called Captain Planet, which was all about conservation and spreading that message. And some people feel it did it in such a clumsy manner that maybe it may have hurt more than it had helped. But on the other hand of the spectrum, you have something like Princess Mononoke, but that was also Hayao Miyazaki, so that man's a genius no matter what you do. This leans far more on the spectrum towards what Miyazaki did than, say, how Captain Planet was doing it.
This was like a serious version of Fern Gully. Like,
Yeah.
I remember when I saw it thinking, oh, we're Fern Gullying this now, and I love it. I love it. I thought it was it wasn't preachy, which is I think what Captain Planet's problem was. It tended to get a little on the preachy side. Wasn't a bad show, but
Its heart was in the right place.
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and I doubt it hurt anything. I mean, it may not help that much, but I doubt it hurt it. And it
Didn't have a
probably, on
negative
some
impact,
level,
yeah.
particularly for the younger end of the audience, probably was, actually really a good thing.
I
But
hope so.
I think you get a little bit older, and it does start to feel a little bit like someone's taking a hammer and going, "Are you listening? Are you listening?" kind of thing. And we were trying very hard, Carrie and I, with input from Frank, I think, to not play this like a hammer, And on the other hand, I watched it last night. I thought there are a couple of hammery moments in here, just a couple, not a lot, but a couple.
I disagree. Honestly, I don't think so.
I'm glad. I mean, it
didn't land that way. It did not land that way.
I think it played honest for the time. I think Hector's got a great line in there where, Elisa's talking about they've got to cut down at least a few trees to grow crops, and Hector just looks at her and goes, Zafira looks at her and goes, there's no such thing as a few trees.
Yeah.
And the point being that, that's where it always begins. Just a few here. Because, look, there are so many, there are infinite trees. Well, there aren't infinite trees. And a few trees become more trees and more trees and more trees. And pretty soon it's gone. And the reason the Amazon rainforest is, in fact, so important today is because we've already decimated the forest every other goddamn place, right? The whole of the Americas, most of Europe were covered in forests, and we've lost nearly all of it. Thankfully, not literally all of it, but so much of it. And again, this is something that still is an issue today.
As it is with the Amazon still.
Yeah. And the Amazon rainforest becomes even more important because we've already industrialized so much of the planet. And one thing I did want to get in there, and I remember this in part because I wrote it down in a ramble 20 years ago, so I only had to remember it 10 years out instead of 30 years out, is that one of the things that I wanted to put in is that this idea that the Amazon rainforest has sort of become the lungs of our world, taking carbon dioxide and turning it into oxygen for the whole planet. And if we take that out, we're actually in real trouble. For something as simple as breathing.
And to breathe, come on.
And
elitist.
And I think the feeling is that every time we tried to find a way to put that in there, it really did feel heavy-handed. And so we wound up not putting it in there. And I still, in a minor way, kind of regret that, because I feel like that's kind of an important thing that we didn't even bring up. But again, it was this really sort of razor's edge. We were trying to walk there and not be preachy and not be a hammer, but still sort of get some of these lessons across, while still telling this great action story that takes place on 2 different continents and in 2 different locations with 2 different sets of gargoyles and
great villains and all that.
Yeah, so I think it came out great. I love it. It came out fun. But I'm glad to hear you guys didn't feel like it was too preachy, because we worked hard to make sure it wasn't.
I even want to circle back because you mentioned the thing that Zafira said about there's no such thing as a few trees. And I actually loved that moment also because what Elisa said was true. Like, without being able to get the trees, any trees, they can't have a livelihood either. And then he said, there's no such thing. And I thought that was such an honest, interesting moment of rigidity for someone who's, fighting for climate and for things, and the factual nature of how we all have to exist on a planet together. So I actually thought that was a really interesting, subtle point.
I love that moment.
Well, I think Elisa is a good balance in this whole Like, I think that's why it doesn't feel preachy, because she's grounding us in, like, she's like, who legally owns this? And it's like, nobody can own this. Like, but yeah, but they, in the real world, somebody could own that.
She
So,
had.
but she definitely kept the whole thing, like, she was keeping it real.
She was. Although Elisa does have a line that hits very differently in 2025, and there's other ways to protest an injustice, and we've been hearing similar sentiments used in a very sinister way for a very long time. And I don't think she's doing that, of course.
No.
She wouldn't do that, but I've heard other people do that, and let's talk about that also, because I love the fact that she and Goliath are able to have a disagreement, a really big disagreement, and still respect one another.
Yeah.
And she's a cop, she's a cop. She's a law and order gal. She, and yet, from her exposure to what was happening, she also softens in some of her responses to things. I really love that. Everyone has their, that's what I like about
Everybody's learning a little something here.
Yeah.
But that was really important to us, that what I didn't want to do in the episode was sort of create a one episode artificial fight between them. They could have a disagreement. They could both stand by their principles and still love and respect each other, and I thought, if we got them just fighting or carping at each other or, declaring that this is unacceptable, kind of thing. It's like, and then what happens next episode when they're off fighting an alien on Rapa Nui? It's just sort of like, is this still an issue? No. So I just wanted, one of the things that concerned us in this show, even though we were episodic, is that we had continuity. And I wanted to be respectful of the idea that let's not create artificial conflicts that we don't plan on playing out down the road. And I think it begins with that, this sort of pragmatic thing. We can't create this conflict in such a way that we're going to have to deal with it down the road, because we're not gonna. But I think one of the things that is a sort of happy byproduct of that is it shows how mature Elisa and Goliath's relationship is, especially when they're not thinking about it. Like, Elisa gets immature about the relationship every time she really starts thinking about, am I really going to be in love with a gargoyle? For, that becomes the place where Elisa, like, I can't deal with that. And this plays out a little bit in the show, but even more so in the comics, where Elisa can't always handle that. But when it comes to their relationship just working, when they're not thinking about the relationship, I think they've got this sort of marvelously mature love affair going. As long as she's not consciously thinking about it as a love affair.
Respect each other.
She's great and he's great. When she starts to think about it too much, that's when she starts to go a little bananas about it. But I understand that he's kind of a different species. I get it.
There's issues that have to be worked out.
There are issues to be dealt with, and we dealt with them, but just not here.
Let's talk a little bit about the guest cast. I mean, we have Elisa here, who is obviously one of them, and we mentioned we have Hector Elizondo as Zafiro, who was terrific. Marabina Jaime as Turquesa, she was terrific also. We didn't really mention Jesse Corti as Hade. He didn't really have that many lines, but he was really good too.
It was a great group of new cast members. Plus, we had Peter Scolari, great Peter Scolari in there. Probably the only episode we had him where he wasn't playing off Halcyon Renard, Robert Culp, who was great in a very different way. And then, of course, you got Matt Frewer and Cree Summer in there, and they're just so much fun.
You got to point out, this is our last time hearing Matt Frewer and Cree Summer's Jacqueline Hyena on the show.
Oh, is it? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
They are so much fun.
Cree's laugh, just
that raspy cackle she's got.
I love it. When we were casting the pack, it was like Wolf. Well, we'd done Clancy as Hakon, and he'd been so great in that. So it's like, well, what about Clancy? And we went through some issues that we've talked about with Fox, but when it came to Hyena, I was just like Cree, and Jamie was like, well, and I'm like, no, it's Cree. And there's no one who can play it. It's definitely Cree. And it's the laugh, because, you want a hyena laugh that doesn't make you cringe. You want it to be fun. You don't want it to be like, oh, someone's trying to laugh like a hyena, and Cree's just eats that stuff for breakfast. It's, she just, it's great. And Matt is terrific as Jackal. And he's got that sick fantasy in the middle of the episode, which is so terrific. It's horrible, but it's so great.
Yeah.
And
so twisted.
Gonna murder them all and disfigure.
And it becomes this thing where it's like, we got away with that. And again, all props to Adrian Bello, who got that. Okay, A, it's stone. B, it's a dream sequence. It's not real. It's not happening. And C, isn't this cool? And so let us do it.
Yeah.
Their upgrades have gotten really wacky in it. So normal stuff, they fly now. They didn't fly in previous episodes. But I think my favorite, and this is in the notes, Jen saw this, is Jackal has a blow dryer where his stomach used to be.
He's got a blow dryer. He's got a blow dryer. You take out this thing that looks like a gun, and you're like, it's going to shoot Vogel? No, he's blow drying it. It's like, that is hilarious. And I've seen this episode, 50 times before, but I was watching that last night. I just started laughing.
The wristwatch is practical, and then Hyena goes bowling ball on us.
Yeah.
We've seen her do the whole circle thing before, but this time she went full sphere.
I love the bowling ball. I thought it was super cool.
It was.
That was a fun fight in the museum.
That was a really fun fight.
I know that museum quite well. I've been to the American Museum of Natural History many times, so it's always fun to see these things take place in spots that I know quite well. I'm a New Yorker, so that's always been a bonus for me. But Jen, what do you think of the casting for the Mayan clan in this? And say nice things, not even if just because Elisa's here. I'm kidding. Say whatever you want.
Well,
Sidiana. I'll just cover my ears.
No, we love you.
Again, Jesse didn't have a lot of lines, but you still get that he's like the mellow, level-headed one of the group. Like, everybody just really you felt their whole personalities in the very few lines they all had. So, the guest cast on the show is always amazing, but absolutely loved Hector's just the passion that he was feeling, that he had to save this. This was, he's protecting his castle kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So they were great. They were fantastic.
Speaking of castle, that pyramid is gorgeous.
The pyramid was a nice touch. Nice.
And on top of the pyramid being gorgeous, that Mayan sun amulet is a beautiful design.
Yeah, it really was. It was really great.
On that note, since the Mayan sun amulet went to New York, let's talk about going back to New York a little bit as well. So it's really nice to see Lexington and Broadway here, considering that they haven't been present too much during this particular tier of episodes.
Yeah, it's true. I think, a lot of the push for this came from Frank, who was feeling like we don't have enough New York in the show. The world tour was going on, and I was probably really enamored of the world tour in a way that not necessarily everybody else was. We heard Bryn talking about it a few episodes back. Not a fan. Although she wrote a bunch of great, or story edited a bunch of great world tour episodes. But I was really enamored of it. And I think I underestimated the popularity of Hudson and the Trio a little bit. But even while we were doing it, it was like, is there one that we can do that where in essence we're splitting time? So we had episodes like Pendragon or Kingdom where we were back in New York while the world tour was still going on. But is there one we can do where we can split it, where we can justify that? And this seemed to make sense. When Jackal says there's a computer back at the villa, I'm like, first off, there's a villa. And second off, there's a computer. And I'm sitting here thinking, it's still really a pre-internet age. So for us, this was almost an example of science fiction. In other words, that whole, it's perfect that Matt Furr's the guy to do it because it's 20 seconds into the future, right? I mean, we were close to being able to do something like that. But in 1995, you really could not do something like that. You couldn't just take an image and go, okay, image search this, find me the thing. Maybe at the Pentagon they could do it. I don't know, but certainly not someone on a home computer in the
middle of the jungle.
in the jungle, you couldn't do that. So it was just a little bit of the idea that Vogel must have had an advanced machine or something. So it was just slightly science fiction, not a lot, but a tiny bit. And then that allowed the whole thing. And it helped also that, I have this vague memory of this conversation that we had, that Carrie and I had. And he's like, well, but it's a different time zone. I'm like, is it? Because, time zones go east to west. They don't go north to south. How different is it from Guatemala to New York City?
A couple of hours, maybe.
Yeah, that's it. It was not that big. It was not that big a deal, and she had the day to fly and do all that. First class, of course, and.
First of all, okay, I just want to say, imagine having to sit on a flight next to hyena.
Yeah.
That could be an episode in and of itself.
Yeah.
The poor schlub who had to sit next to her.
God.
I also think it'd be funny to see a hyena try, even for 10 minutes, let alone, I don't know, 4 or 5 hour flight, to be incognito. Like, that is so un-hyena-esque to be incognito at all. We saw it in the, what was it, Brothers Keeper, back in season 1.
Yes.
They just go to this diamond exchange, and within 10 minutes, she's like pulling knives on people, she has no ability to blend at all.
No, none. No.
So it is.
Subtle is not her thing at all.
I'm guessing she really liked the in-flight movies and those kept her entertained for 10 hours.
The warm nuts, those hot, warm mixed nuts. I don't know.
There's a 2-hour time difference between Guatemala and New York.
2 hours. See, it's not a big deal. And did you just look that up on the internet?
Yep.
See, that was hard for us to do. Like, figuring out something that simple, which today would take literally a minute at most, right? Would have been like some huge challenge to figure out how is it? It's north-south, so it can't be that big a difference, but is it the same time zone? Is it 2 over? What? That was a big challenge for us back then.
It lines up with Central Time.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's so funny.
That gave us the ability to take it to New York. And then I think very consciously among the trio, we felt that that Jeff Bennett had gotten to play a bunch of other characters because Jeff was so versatile, right? he played a bunch of other characters on the show besides Brooklyn. So he had been in a handful of World Tour episodes, even though Brooklyn, but that Tom and Bill were only in like Kingdom and were only in Pendragon, you know, and that. So I think the choice of which two gargoyles we picked for this episode came down to that kind of, let's just spread the wealth a little bit, you know, kind of decision. At least that's vaguely what I recall, is that either that or Adcox was bitching at me about it.
He just bought a car.
He loves to tell the story about his finances. Awesome. I'm a regular on a show. I'm going to buy some stuff.
I'm sure I'll have him on the show again to talk about that.
I mean, you know, again, one of the things is that when you've got a wealth of, which we had, of course, of just amazing actors, you know, you always want all of them, and that's not practical. Not from a budget standpoint, not from the standpoint of overwhelming every episode. I mean, as it is, Nate on the comics is pretty much constantly complaining about how many characters I stuff into everything I do. And I don't know if you guys have seen Demona 1 that came out today, but I was talking to Kevin Chafe about it, Master Draymond about it this afternoon, and he was like,
and
that
Drake
where you've got all of Canmore's sons, and it's like you've got 20 people at this one dinner table. I'm like, yeah, I know. Frank hated me. But
oh, wait till you see the family tree we're working on over at Gardwicki.
I'm pretty sure Frank was having flashbacks.
But you know, that's the thing. You've got to pick and choose, and so you know, I'd love to keep everyone employed all the time, but it doesn't always work that way.
No, it's great to see New York City again. I love the action sequences in this. They're well choreographed, well animated. Both of them, both the ones in Guatemala and the one in the Natural History Museum. I kind of cringe at times when things are destroyed in the museum. I mean,
especially that mammoth.
Oh man, that killed me. This is the thing that at the time I didn't think about at all. I don't think, but within even a couple years, I'm like, why the hell are we always destroying museums in this show? We're doing it museums, and in this one, oh my god, we burn half the forest, and we. I'm like, there's so much destruction in this show, and I'm like, it really makes me cringe. You know, in hindsight, at the time, it was just like, this was fun action. You know, we blow a big hole in the side of the museum. We destroy a mammoth skeleton. I'm like, what are we doing? Stop! We're supposed to be the good guys.
Well, the bad guys are the ones doing it.
We should go back and make a dollar count for how much it would take to replace everything that Weissman has destroyed in his.
Please
Yeah.
The number's way too high.
I love they don't destroy the Mayan sun amulet when they kind of had every reason to destroy it.
Why did they decide not to?
I think the idea is that they just didn't have enough information, and so they were going to keep it out of the hands of the bad guys. But until they could find out more about it, it just felt unwise and to do anything serious with it. But we worked really hard to, you know, when Hyena is determined to destroy it, they're not in that room of the museum yet, Broadway and Lex. So by the time they get in there, they don't know that she was trying to destroy it. Right. And because we wanted to keep the tension up, like, oh my God, if Broadway destroys this thing, then all the gargoyles are doomed, right? You know, and
it did keep the tension up. Like when I was watching it, because I forgot the whole story, I was like, oh God, what happens? And then like, I love that it cuts right there. Like, well, we better destroy it then. And then I'm just like, oh, no, you know, and then you find out at the end
that they reveal. Yeah.
I actually think there's a misstep in the episode because we tip off that Obsidiana has lost her amulet. I mean, we really billboard it by showing as opposed to just showing that she's not wearing it anymore, which people might notice or might not notice.
Right.
Again, hindsight being 2020, I wish we hadn't shown that it was hanging from that branch and that Bronx picks it up. Like later that Bronx has it in his mouth, I'm fine with that. But,
Right.
you know, when we see Obsidiana turn to stone, I wanted the audience to think, oh my God, Broadway destroyed.
Yes.
the Sunhand.
Yeah.
But because we had so billboarded the fact that she had lost her pendant, I feel like we undercut the tension a little more than we had to, and that's on me. That was clearly a choice that Carrie and I made in the script, and I'm the last. You know, from the script standpoint, I'm the last word. So even if it was Carrie's initial thing, I clearly approved it. But
Visually, too, it has a stronger impact than it might have had as you're approving a script. I mean, not that you're not capable of, and know how
yeah,
to.
it just again, in hindsight, I wish you do want to see that she's not wearing it. You want to play fair with the audience, but her not having it on is not the same thing as saying, "Oh, I don't know if you noticed if she doesn't have it on, but she doesn't because here it is hanging from a tree branch."
Right.
And that's the piece that I wish we hadn't done, so that when she turns to stone, you think, "Oh
My God.
crap, Broadway destroyed the Sunhand."
Yeah.
And then you see the other three, Bronx and the other three enter, and you realize, oh no, he must not have. She lost it. Bronx is holding it in his mouth, that kind of thing. And so I do wish we had left out the shot of the branch. That's the one bit that I
agree. And then she could have been like, "Oh God, I don't," and then she starts to turn. Yeah.
that I wish we had not done. But I do like that the tension stays ratcheted up because of what Broadway says at the end of that scene. And
Needs to cut it.
And how about Frank Welker in this episode? Gets injured,
Bronx got a boo-boo.
Yeah. Bronx is wonderful in this episode.
He is.
And I love the scene where Elisa takes the amulet from him and is like, I hate to do this to you, guy, but it doesn't belong to you. And Viviana needs it. So I was, and he's like, all right,
Yeah.
Frank is able to get so much out of just these little tiny animal sounds. It's just, always, it's the kind of thing that it's easy to take for granted, but it's a lot harder than it looks. Believe me.
Oh,
Yeah, he's a master. I mean, just amazing. And the nicest person on the planet.
I haven't had the pleasure of ever meeting him. I would love to. I know he's doing a lot of conventions these days, but I've been a fan of his work from as long as I can remember, before I even knew who he was. I've been watching.
Scooby-Doo.
There he goes. Scooby-Doo. He's done so much. Yeah.
Super kind and generous as an actor. He was really kind to me when I was starting out. He was really so fabulous. I didn't even know who he was, because I was just so new to the world. And it was like on a Carmen Sandiego episode. And he was just amazing.
We talked a little bit with you before we started recording about working with the rest of this cast. So you mentioned Keith. You also mentioned that you had a previous friendship with Brigitte Bacco. So what was it like stepping into the booth with your friends?
It's always because Keith became my friend through this show. Bridget, we bartended together in New York and we were roommates. So that was just such a thrill. And even all these years later, just listening to.
Now that's an image. I knew you were roommates, but you have never mentioned the bartending thing. That is something I would like to see. Elisa and Bridget bartending together.
We were.
That is something I would like.
They went home with all the tips.
I still have the uniform folded up somewhere. We do a lot of bending over to get the coldest.
This kind of Coyote Ugly thing going in my head right now. It's Probably not healthy. But anyway.
Oh, I was thinking of Coyote Ugly the moment she said that myself.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I actually think we both auditioned for that. So when we were in New York. So there you go.
We all need to hang out together.
Okay. I'm down. Let's do it.
Mhm.
Do it.
I speak to Bridget like literally almost every day, like all the time. So like we're just like she's like family.
She's magical.
Yeah, she's
Oh.
great.
Yeah, we love Bridget.
Sparkly.
Again, everyone we've met who has been involved in this show has always been a blast. I say this all the time. I always that phrase, never meet your heroes. I haven't met anyone who worked on this show who has ever been a disappointing person to meet. Everyone I've met has been fantastic. I mean,
Even that guy Weissman.
yeah, even that guy Weissman. I mean, no, considering
he's a bit of an asshole, but in a lovable kind of
In a
way.
lovable way.
yeah, but Keith, Frank, Bridget, Jonathan, Marina, Tom, they've all been, and so much more, they've all been terrific people to just meet and spend time with.
Yeah.
Never had the pleasure of Ed Asner, unfortunately, but
It's just
or
great.
Frank, but yeah. But Elise, I do have a Gathering 2001 memory. That was the very first convention you came to, the first one in Los Angeles. I was walking through the lobby, and you walk up to me. I think you took a look at me and said, "Oh, he must be with the convention," because I was a very geeky-looking guy, I still am. And you didn't know where your panel was, so I wasn't on staff for that one. But I'm like, "Oh, it's this way. It's this way." So
The downside of running the conventions is I hardly ever got to see anybody.
I did the same thing again in 2006 when it was her and Bridget. So, except I wasn't on staff that time.
Love it.
So that was always a pleasure. And again, just this cast has been great. We didn't really talk much about Vogel in this episode. Vogel is just stepping in here as the standard corporate raider, just exploiting the rainforest. Very uncaring about it, despite the fact that he's hiring a couple of homicidal, dangerous mercenaries. And I do have to wonder, Greg, was Halcyon Renard in on this at all?
No.
Those Vogel off vogeling.
Yeah. Vogel has always been a little, shall we say, integrity challenged. Vogel is kind of guy who I think aspires to the values that Halcyon holds dear, but doesn't always achieve them. And I do think that every once in a while, dollar signs sort of light up in his eyes, and he goes down the wrong path, and then he has to self-correct and come back. I think if he had known that Goliath and Elisa were part of what was going on in the forest, that might have made that self-correction happen quicker. I think that would have first off, he kind of owes Goliath a lot. For all sorts of reasons. And I think that just the fact that Goliath was there would have made him see the light a lot faster. But we were very careful that, Jackal never mentions to Vogel that specifically it's Goliath who's doing this, or who's involved in this. He does. So Vogel doesn't know about Angela and Bronx and Goliath and Elisa being there. And that allows him he's heard that there are gargoyles, but he hasn't seen them. He doesn't know them. And it allows him, I'm not excusing it, but it allows him to sort of think in a more generic term, like, this will be good for the country. This will be okay. This kind of thing. It'll bring in jobs or whatever, whatever argument that seems to make sense at the time. And, but if he had known Goliath was there, I think it would have played out very differently. But in the end, he's just sort of like, well, this has been a bust. And you know what? This is probably not a great idea. And so he sort of self-corrects by the end of it. But no, I don't think Renard was I think one of the things that we tried to show is that Renard is dying. You know, you get that he's clearly ill in his first appearance out Fox, but by Gollum, even, you know, he's dying. And when we see him in, I mean, this is to come, but when we see him in The Gathering episodes, the two-parter, you know, one of the notes that we gave to Robert when he was playing him is like, you know, you'd play the reference for him, but you'd say his illness has progressed. So it's a subtle thing, and we wanted it subtle. We didn't want him like, no, kind of thing. But we said to Robert, his illness is progressing. He's weaker than he was. So here's the reference from the last couple of appearances. Take it just a little degree weaker for The Gathering. And if you sort of keep that in mind when you listen to The Gathering, I think you'll hear it. His Culp was such a perfectionist. I mean, he was, you know, became this thing, and I think we've talked about it before, is that, you know, we get a take that Jamie and I were like, that's great. And Robert would be like, no, it's not. I can do better than that. And he would do it again. He would do it again. And it got to the point where it became about Peter and Robert's relationship. And Peter wound up working with Robert in a really symbiotic way. And Jamie and I just sort of stepped back and let the two of them play out there, because they were almost always, not literally every scene, but almost always they had scenes together. And so it became the way Peter and Robert worked together. And it was very interesting. It's something I don't think I'd ever experienced before. And not much since, where it really became about the relationship between the two actors, how they were playing the characters off each other, and less about us as sort of producer and director sort of saying, this is what we're, you know. But if you say to Robert Culp he's this much weaker than he was before, Robert Culp will give you that much weaker. And if he thinks that was too strong in that take, no, that wasn't weak enough. Let me come back. I can do it weaker, you know. Or if he thinks it was too weak, no, that was too much. Let me come back. I can do it right. He can hit that target, but that was his thing.
And I'm definitely looking forward to talking about and seeing them play off of each other again when we get to The Gathering, because they work.
Stop talking about it now, Greg, because you're jumping the gun.
Got to rein you in. I love it, Greg, but I have to rein you in a little bit there.
Weissman will just keep talking forever if we don't stop.
Anyway, I mean, I do think it's awesome. We have talismans here, which we didn't really talk much about this, that keep them awake during the day. So, I mean, that was really cool. But I have a question about these Mayan gargoyles. They all have the names that correspond with the pendant that they are wearing. Are those names or are those titles?
They're kind of titles that over time become names. Our thinking is that the rest of the Mayan clan did not have names, like the traditional Scottish gargoyles didn't have names. And the only exception were these four pendant wearers who always took on the name either with a masculine or feminine, because some of the Zephyros over the centuries would have been Zephyras, obviously. But they would always take on, in essence, the title, this is the wearer of the jade pendant, this is the wearer of the turquoise pendant, the obsidian pendant, of the sapphire pendant. So they would take those names as titles, but over again, one of the things that we came to realize is that naming becomes very addictive. And once you put a name on something, it really sticks and it becomes a name, not just a title, but a name over time. And, but yeah, they would, in essence, have originated as titles.
All right. I think we can begin to wrap things up. Jen, do you have any final thoughts on this episode?
Yeah, all around, very strong episode. Loved it.
With a great message.
I loved that the solution to taking all the plants to Avalon. Loved that. Loved it. And I remember thinking at the time, they're not going to be able to just come back from Avalon either.
We would eventually see the follow-up to that. Awesome.
I had a few little things, just little tiny things that I just thought were fun.
We'll save them for a moment. Elisa, do you have any final thoughts on the episode?
Oh, okay.
Just that I was so happy to watch it again last night and realize how important it is still, how it landed and the way just the thematic elements of it are as important, if not more important than when it first aired. And I love that it has such a timeless feel. And I don't know, I was super proud of that episode. It was really lovely to be a part of it. Yeah.
And I loved hearing you when you worked with Greg again on future projects. I mean, I've got right here, you were the doll demon on 3x3 Eyes. You were on Witch, and you were Dr. Kafka and the Spectacular Spider-Man. So that was always fun to hear.
That's right. Can't wait for the next.
And before I hand over to Weston, some of my final thoughts. Really like this episode. Very good episode. I like the message it is conveying. It's very important, and unfortunately, like the message in the last episode we talked about, we're probably going to need to hear it until the heat death of the universe. Although in this case, well before the heat death of the universe, unfortunately, we're not on a wise track right now. So hopefully, at some point, humanity will pull its heads out of its collective assets and not kill itself. So, but no, this is a very good episode with a good message, and I loved going back to New York for part of the episode. And I remember last time on Recording New Olympians, I said at the time, and again, it was a combination of a bad day and maybe missing New York. That was the first episode of the time it aired that I disliked, although I really like it now. I think watching this episode again right after that reminded me of that. You know what? I did miss the New York cast, and maybe that was part of it. And by that time, I was beginning to feel it. So it was nice to check in with them again. And we're getting closer to returning to New York. So yeah, good episode, beautiful animation, great story. So Greg, do you have any final thoughts on the episode?
I just have a few things I felt like bringing up because they amuse me. One is jackals in a hot tub, cybernetic jackals in a hot tub. I just thought that is so weird.
He explained.
That's sybaritic. I loved it.
I mean, when are you going to get to use the hairdryer if not then?
I know. I just think that and the hairdryer right after each other. I just thought that was hilarious. I thought one thing I wanted to bring up is that when there's that shot in the museum where Hyena uses her rocket jets, and they come out of her cybernetic shoulder blades, in essence, on the back. But the way that it was edited, and I didn't notice it when we edited it, obviously, but you're looking at her from the front, and then you cut to a close-up of her in back, and the rockets go up. And I remember watching this with Benny when he was very little. Benny's all grown up and adult now, and probably would prefer if I didn't bring this up. But I remember watching it with Benny, and he said, "She has rocket boobs."
I thought that when I watched it last night.
Because you're seeing her from in front, then there's a cut to a close-up of in back, so you don't have the context to see. No, those are her shoulder blades, not her boobs. And so I just wanted to say that. And then one last little thing is, because we've been talking about all these phenomenal actors on the show, but you've always got to give props to Keith David, who in a one-line shot for Morgan the cop does this deadpan line to an unconscious hyena, "You have the right to remain silent." It's sort of like, it is so great. It's such a great read, and it's a throwaway, but that's Keith David. He spent the whole episode playing Goliath and all this great stuff with him and Sally as Goliath and Elisa, and then you've got this one line from Morgan that just slays you at the end. And so I just wanted to mention those few things because I just think it's a wild episode. It's pretty out there for a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of humor in it. And I think people always talk to me, "Oh yeah, Gargoyles, that was that dark show that Disney did," and I'm like, yeah, I guess, but we were actually pretty funny a lot of the time, and people forget that, and I'm like, watch an episode. It was funny. So anyway, I'm just trying to promote the humor.
Well, you're not wrong. You're completely right.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is coming out on June 27th. Does anyone have anything they would like to plug?
I'm sort of in mid-project right now, so they'll have to have me back.
Oh no.
NDAs. Greg, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
I would like to plug Demona issue 1, which will have come out by now. God hopes. I mean, I know it's come out electronically by now, and it's supposed to come out.
Last I checked on MidtownComics.com, June 25th.
So by now it should be out. And in any case, you can get it electronically now. And I think it's a really fun issue. And Frank's artwork on it is just stellar. I mean, I'm proud of the story and everything, but you should be buying it for Frank's artwork alone. And so I hope people pick that up. Demona #1 should be out by now, and is definitely out electronically. And it won't be too long, I hope, until Demona #2 is out, which is also completely finished and ready to go. And so, there are distribution issues, with Diamond Distribution, which Dynamite, was in partnership with, and that created some issues when Diamond declared bankruptcy. But the books are done; they look fantastic, and so issue 1 will be out by then, and issue 2 won't be far away. So keep an eye out for Demona issues 1 and 2.
You are no slacker, Greg Weisman.
I am actually. I'm definitely trying really hard to be a slacker. If it weren't for the need for money, I would totally go for a slacker.
You're a very prolific slacker, then. That's all I have to say.
I am a prolific slacker.
For all of us.
I am a prolific slacker. It's very true.
Make a t-shirt. Yeah.
Nice. All right. In that case, Elisa, thank you for coming on. It was great to see you again.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. Yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys again.
Yeah. Greg, thank you for constantly coming on. Thank you for everything you do, and thank you for this wonderful series and this episode, this wonderful message. And Jennifer, as always, thank you for everything you do. And to our listeners, thank you for listening. And tune in next time as we head down to Rapa Nui for Sentinel.
Thank you for listening to Voices from the Eyrie, a Gargoyles podcast, powered by the Spidey Dude Radio Network, located at spidey-dude.com. If you like this show, then please listen to Spectacular Radio, based on the Spectacular Spider-Man animated series, which features some familiar voices. You can also find these great podcasts: Clone Saga Chronicles, Make Mine Mayday, Amazing Spider-Man Classics, the Sal Buscema Podcast, and Books of X. All of this and more on the Spidey Dude Radio Network. And please follow us on Twitter at From Eyrie. That's From EYRIE. And join us on Patreon at patreon.com/SpideyDudeNetwork for more exclusive content. Thank you.